Hello YouTube. Hey, it's Dave here with another Watch Love video. This time, a first impression look at the Omega Speedmaster Automatic, reference number 3523.80. This is a triple calendar, or triple date as it's sometimes called. A beautiful piece by Omega from their automatic line of watches, and just wanted to share with you my first impressions. I've had this watch for about 2 weeks now, and just give you a few thoughts about it. Talk a little bit about why I bought the watch, where it fits in my collection, and then talk a little bit about the watch itself, and then I'll share a little bit about what I think of the automatic line. We'll start with why I purchased this watch. If you look at this beautiful piece, you'll see it's got a blue dial, and you'll see it's a chronograph, which also is what this beautiful Hamilton is. So I am considering selling this piece, even though this is one of my most beautiful watches I've ever owned, simply because it is a very difficult watch to read. The legibility issues have really been a struggle for me, and I really need to be able to glance at my watch at a meeting and not whip up my cell phone like so many people do. I really want to be able to look at my watch and tell what time it is, whereas, of course, your Speedmaster, you can always tell what time it is with the Speedy. So it's important for me to be able to tell the time quickly. So legibility is an issue, which made owning this beautiful Hamilton a bit of a struggle. The other reason I was interested in picking this up is because I wanted to try a smaller watch. And this is a 39 millimeter piece, and on my 7 1/4 inch wrist, I've always been a 40 to 42 millimeter kind of guy, and really more like 41 to 43. So the thought of owning a smaller watch used to be an anathema to me. I really wanted nothing to do with a smaller watch, but I thought this time I'll give it a try because I've been noticing this thing feels like a beast, and this 44 millimeter Speedy is definitely looking larger to me over time. So I'm becoming, like many watch enthusiasts, more interested in smaller timepieces. So I can tell you right up front that what I love about this in terms of size is that it looks just fine on my wrist. It doesn't look tiny, and I'm just afraid it would. I will tell you, my first impression right out of the box was, oh my gosh, how cute. It's so tiny. It's like a little baby watch. It's amazing the difference between a 39 and a 40 millimeter watch in terms of size. Part of that is because this is an 18 millimeter bracelet. So the smaller bracelet gives it a smaller feel on the wrist, but really on the wrist, no one's looking at my wrist going, oh my gosh, he's wearing a kid's watch. No one could tell the difference between this watch and any other watch I wear in terms of size in real life activity. The thing that does bother me a little bit about the 39 millimeter is that with so much information on the dial, it's a small space for a lot of information. So it would have made sense to have a 41 or 42 millimeter case. Now, let's talk about the watch itself. This, again, it's a 39 millimeter with 18 millimeter lug width. And on the back, we have a solid case back. With inside, we have a Valjoux 7751, which in Omega speak is an Omega 1151. They've, I guess, modified it, decorated it. And one thing that is missing from this is the moon phase, which is really what the 7751 does have. So that feature Omega just did not use in this watch. But the Valjoux 7751 is a good workhorse, and this one is running a really solid -8 seconds a day. I wish it were regulated better than that, but this is probably a 15 to 20-year-old watch, so it makes sense that it's not exactly spot on. But it's very consistently 8 seconds a day. So I just set it a minute fast and go a week and just reset it a minute fast. So it's not a problem. The bracelet is, again, a beautiful Omega quality bracelet. I like the links that are not as thick as some of the newer Speedmasters, or wide maybe, we could say. So it has a little more of a refined look on the wrist. As you can see, it just flows nicely. And on the back, we have this nice clasp with this very interesting expansion so that you can have plenty of room to get it on the wrist. Get it on the wrist, you slide that forward, you close it and snap it shut, and you just have a single push button deployant. It's very solid. It's holding it well. It'd be nice to have a couple of things on this watch. First of all, the double deployant, just to make it feel a little more solid, because you can see it's got a little play there. It would be nice to have a little more of a solid, something that look a little less like sheet metal there, but it's more solid than it looks. So I've feared it would bend on me at some point, but it doesn't appear that it's going to. So there's a couple of steps. It's not easy to get on the wrist. You got to slide it shut, make sure this is aligning, kind of hold the deployant, and then snap it shut. And when you do, you have a very secure watch on the wrist. And because it slides and makes more room, you don't have as big a metal piece under there, so it kind of hugs the wrist nicely. It doesn't protrude out as much as other pieces do with these big, thick clasps. What else do you want to know about the watch? The traditional layout for a Speedmaster. Your chronograph runs beautifully. You have a 30-minute dial, sub-dial. You have a 12-hour sub-dial. Over here you have a 24-hour sub-dial that also acts as a running seconds. So it makes it a little bit challenging to time things down to this, to know exactly where the seconds are. But really, this is more about an AM/PM indicator or a 24-hour indicator, which really is completely unnecessary. I can't imagine when you would really use this in real life, because you can't really just glance down and see that it's 1900 hours. The way this is set is, of course, you see the date going around the edge with this red crescent moon-shaped hand. It winds beautifully, very stiff winding, but very secure feeling. The challenge with this is when you're setting the date, so you pull this out to the first click, and you begin to wind, you're going to start spinning the date around, and you got to get all the way around to 31, then that'll change the month. Now the challenge with that is it was September 30th, and I had to move it to October 1st. I pulled it out one, just barely turned it, and I jumped too far to 2. So then you have to go 364 days around, or however many days that would be, line it back up and get it right. So it's a little tricky, but the day is changed right here. Just pressing that button will change Sunday to Monday, and otherwise the time is set like any other watch that you would have. I will say that one of the differences in the traditional Speedy, let me just point that out, is you'll see the flat bezel here on the left, and you'll see a curved bezel on the right. So whereas the traditional Speedmaster has a nice layered look, which I really think is gorgeous, this feels more like a dome on your wrist, kind of that traditional domed shape to the whole style. So let me say a little something about my opinions on Omega itself, as far as the automatic line. A lot of people really aren't too thrilled that Omega seems to put out specialty watches all the time. In this case, I find that you would enjoy the automatic line if you're one of two people. One is, if you're like me, you just want a second Speedmaster. This is a great option for having a second Speedmaster when you don't want to pay the kind of money that you pay for the original Moonwatch. In this case, you can see it's significantly smaller, so it gives me a variety in my collection. Quite different, but still having the ultimate Speedmaster look. I really recommend, if your first goal, hopefully in life, will be to own the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch, and then once you accomplish that, then perhaps an automatic makes for a nice second. The second thing to note about this is that it is much, much less expensive than the Moonwatch. These automatics being, this one here, the line started in 1999. The owner's card on this says 2006, though I think it was made a long time before that, so it probably sat on the shelf for a while before it was sold. So somewhere between 1999 and 2006, this one was made. Anyhow, this makes for a great second Speedmaster, but also due to its affordability, these run between $1,500 and $2,200, depending on the condition and depending on whether you get it from a a certified pre-owned dealer and all that kind of stuff. But anywhere from really 15 to 2,500 is where you'll see these listed. I got a great deal on this one because it was a bidding option. I find that when you can bid on these, if you can find one that's for auction, you tend to do better. I got this for several hundred lower than the lower end on this, so I was really pleased with the value of this watch. It's certainly much less expensive, like in the terms of like $2,000 less for this one than I did this one. So therefore, it makes a great first Speedmaster for someone who can't afford the Moon watch. So I applaud Omega for having so many options. I know that the purists out there wish they only made the Moon watch and didn't do any other styles or limited editions, but honestly, I'm sure Omega is in the business of making money and staying open, and I'm sure that business model works for them. And while the rest of us may wish that they tailored their business model completely to us enthusiasts, somehow I don't think they're going to do that. So let's let them continue to sell these in mass quantities so that we can continue to own these, and we'll all be happy. So I'm really all for Omega doing what it needs to do to to stay in business and to keep providing such beautiful timepieces. So there you have it, the Omega Speedmaster Automatic 3523.80, beautiful triple date, blue dial. This also can be found in black, it can be found in white, and they're silvery kind of dial. There's numbers of options out there. There's the Schumacher line of more racing style watches that are a little larger, 41, 42 millimeters. But look for a Speedmaster Automatic. I think you'll find it to be a great addition to your collection. Well, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.